When you regain this connection between your heart center and your sexual center, then you can start to bond sex and love together so that you're coming into sex from a space of love and connection instead of just trying to, thrust into your partner and dominate them. Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you want to learn more about sexual mastery, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. So sexual healing, something I want to talk about in this video. Sex is something that can be very destructive, damaging, and depleting, or it's something that can be very healing, very energizing, very fulfilling, very transformative even, right? And it all depends how you engage in it. Unfortunately, almost everyone in the world has sexual wounds, sexual traumas, sexual imbalances because we were conditioned to view sex under a certain lens, a very distorted one, right? Through the porn industry, certain agendas of rulers of this planet, we were conditioned to see sex as purely this lustful, animalistic, impulsive drive, right? And when we spend our lives trying to recreate what we see in porn, it brings us much frustration. It brings many problems to our relationships. It can even cause, violence, rape, all these terrible things. And so collectively, I think it's safe to say that we're all fairly sexually traumatized coming into this world. But the good news is that there's something you can do to overcome it. So sexual healing is all about using sex, using sexual connection, working with sexual energy as a way to heal yourself, whether that's of traumas, directly related to sex, whether that's healing other aspects of your life, right? There's a lot of potential in working with sexual healing. And this requires having a very different approach to sex and sexual connection. One that's not based on, trying to perform, trying to take something from your partner, trying to thrust into them, trying to use sex to release stress, but having a very conscious intent with your sexual connection and using sex as a way to release energies in the body, to open up pathways, to clear traumas, and to develop a deep and healing connection with yourself and with your partner. There's a lot of trauma around this male-female split that we have. We're in these polarized bodies, we're separated into male-female bodies, and this causes a lot of conflict in our minds and in our relationships, in our outward horizontal relationships with the world, right? This great battle of the sexes, the battle between men and women. So taken to extremes, we have the red pill groups of men who are saying that all women are whores and they're the reasons why their lives are miserable and that they need to be controlled and manipulated, things like that. And then of course we have the feminists who are, saying similar things on the opposite side of the agenda, right? So there's obviously this great male-female split. Conscious sexual connection can become a way to resolve this. A huge issue that men have around engaging with females is the fact that females are sexually superior. Let's face it, women cannot really get sexually exhausted versus men. Many men ejaculate within the first few minutes of having sex, and this causes anxieties around premature ejaculation, performance anxieties, being able to have erections. And so this leads a lot of men to have this very competitive and very conflictive approach in engaging with the opposite sex, sometimes taken to, terrible extremes of violence and things like that. But in reality, conscious sexual connection becomes a way to resolve this because first of all, as a man, when you learn to control your mind and your body, so you overcome sexual dysfunctions, overcome, premature ejaculation, learn the willpower and the discipline to train to overcome these issues, stop the poor lifestyle habits you have that are contributing to performance anxiety, contributing to erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, sexual depletion. So you do the inner work to clear these, kind of ego patterns that you may have around this, learn to become open and receptive to the opposite sex. So when you engage in sex in a conscious dynamic where you are focusing on exchanging with your partner, it no longer becomes this competition, this I need to outperform them, I need to, manipulate them in some way. It becomes this natural dance of yin-yang polarity, the masculine supporting the feminine having a safe space where she can trust, let go, and surrender to be filled with the masculine being a responsible, emotionally mature male who can treat the female with respect and love, right? So when you approach sex in this way, it completely changes the whole dynamic of your relationship and it starts to become this deep, harmony, this balance. Women especially tend to have a lot of traumas around sexuality. Many women experience sexual assault, molestation in their young years, unfortunately, right? And they're often carrying these blockages and this baggage with them for the rest of their life. But healing with sexual energy can become a way to release these patterns, right? So changing your approach to sex, the way you relate to the opposite sex, getting away from this performance-based approach to sex. I mean, there's a time and a place to, have sport sex where you're just kind of thrusting away, creating a lot of friction. It can be fun as well. But when you're working specifically with sexual healing, you want to change your dynamic of how you approach sex. You want to create a sacred space where you can both surrender and get into this altered state. There's often a lot of rushing in sex. There's a lot of just skipping straight to penetration. And unfortunately, you miss so much along the way. So when you take your time, slow things down, again, create that sacred space, create a nice setting, and really create a powerful container for healing to occur. So some powerful tools you can use for creating this container that you can both start to open up to each other on deeper levels are, first of all, having that comfortable sacred space where you have plenty of time to go into a deep session. A really great practice is to just sit across from each other and just gaze into each other's eyes, look into each other's eyes for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Just doing that alone starts to create this powerful polarity between you. It starts to open up the body, it starts to get energy flowing. You'll notice that your partner's face starts to shift and transform as these different layers of energy arise and are possibly released. So that can be a powerful way to build polarity. And then doing some massage work, touch your partner's body, give them a massage, help them release the tensions that they're carrying. Tension is usually the number one issue when it comes to being unable to open to sex for women, being unable to be orgasmic for men, being unable to last for more than a few minutes without ejaculating. So doing some massage work on each other, helps you to open up each other's bodies. And for women specifically, doing some yoni massage can be a very, very powerful way for them to release some of the blockages they may be carrying onto. Women tend to store a lot of negativity and trauma within their womb space. It's this deep, empty, dark container that they can kind of unconsciously shove things into. So doing some yoni massage, working with the G spot, the A spot, can really help release these areas of the body. And this can be very, very deep and vulnerable work for women. So, it's important that you have this safe space. It's important that you help her see that she can trust you to hold her in this space of deep vulnerability, because when you start to do G-spot massage, a lot of emotions are going to come up for the women. So this can be a powerful way of releasing these patterns. And for men, some of the deep healing work really comes down to regaining this connection between the heart center and the sexual center. Men tend to have a lot of traumas around their heart center. Maybe we didn't get enough love from our mommy, from our daddy. The first girlfriend you had broke your heart when you were 16 years old, things like this. And overall, men were conditioned to be very closed down emotionally. We're taught to be cold, to be emotionless, almost robotic, right? And I'm not saying that, you need to be a beta male, overly emotional, complaining everything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's important as a man to be able to activate your heart space. Hold this space of compassion, of unconditional love, of caring and responsibility for your partner, so that your sexual dynamic is not driven by pure animalistic lust. This is a pattern that will burn you out. It will never lead to fulfillment. It will only lead to you expending your sexual energy excessively. When you regain this connection between your heart center and your sexual center, then you can start to bond sex and love together, so that you're coming into sex from a space of love and connection instead of just trying to, thrust into your partner and dominate them. It's a very, very different dynamic. And a lot of men have difficulty opening up to this, but this is some of the deep work that men can do to completely change their dynamic. And this is also one of the keys to becoming a multi-orgasmic man, to have full body orgasms, is to create this connection between the heart center and the sexual center. Because when the heart is activated, it raises the vibration of your sexual energy. It causes it to expand and flow throughout the body instead of just only being released downward. And this completely transforms your experience of sex. You don't want to ejaculate when you're feeling this deep sensation of connection, of fulfillment, of love with your partner. It creates this beautiful field of flowing energy between you, and you feel very, very satisfied at the end of that. So again, to sum things up, the majority of people on this planet have deep traumas, deep blockages around sexuality. So it really takes having a practice to overcome these patterns, release these patterns, and step into a new dynamic of sexuality. For men, when you step into this new path of connected sex that's connected to your heart, your mind, your spirit, and your genitals, of course, everything connected together, you no longer want to go back to this old, porn conditioned patterns of just ejaculating frequently. It completely changes your life. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to learn more about how to rewire the sexual connection in your body to create this upward flow of energy so you can have multiple non-ejaculatory orgasms and have tantric sex for hours, check out my 12-week course, Multi-Orgasmic Man. I'll put more information in the description of this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. Have a great day, my friends.